space of AI at the edge. And the topic that I would like to talk to you about is how it is going to be necessary and possible in the coming months and years to democratize access to edge AI. First thing first, I'm Marcello Majonchi. I'm Chief Product Officer at Arduino. And as I'm sure that everybody is seeing today, AI technology is really reaching the edge. And almost every single company that is exhibiting here at the Things Conference has some sort of edge AI demo or edge AI solution that they are pitching. The observation, though, is that albeit edge AI technology is pretty much available, it's not very easy to adopt, especially for an OEM that wants to create a solution from scratch. And so, today with Marcello Gemelli from Bosch Sensortec, Jongboom from Edge Impulse, and Alexis Crowell from Axelera, respectively, leader in sensor technology for IoT, startup, and now part of a large corporation like Qualcomm that has been, trailblazing in edge AI technology, especially AI models at very, very low scale. And of course, Axelera AI, which is one of the most interesting startups from Europe, at least, when it comes to really providing the right type of edge power to actually run AI at the edge. I think that this is the right group of experiences and minds to help us discuss and understand together what really we're missing, and at the same time what we need to be looking forward to in the coming months and years in order for edge AI to be truly democratized. So the first question, not particularly for anyone, so feel free to to jump in and answer as you like, is about what is missing. Right? What do you feel that are the main barriers that are today in place that are preventing AI to be really usable, accessible at the edge? I see you, Ian, ready to answer.
Yeah, I mean, one word, at least in my mind, and that's data. And I think the problem with edge AI, I think the problem with all AI, is that it's very easy to sort of get to 80%. I have a machine sitting somewhere, and I want to detect, is the machine on or off or something, like an easy 80% use case. Well, I built that in a couple of days. And now that I actually want to go make something that knows when this machine is going to break or when a fault state is going to happen, all of a sudden I need to build up a catalog of all of the data. And it's so hard. I can't buy a device that collects that data for me. My machine probably never breaks, so it's very hard for me to get that exact data. And that's where I see lots of people sort of fall through. More data. So help me build that.
I agree with you. I think there are companies that are helping solve for that. But I think the other piece, so I've spent the last 10 years trying to do this with companies. And the biggest barrier that I've seen are two things. One, people don't actually know what business problem they're trying to solve, right? Like, they're all super excited about the tech, and the tech is amazing. You can you can dream up any number of ideas. But until you understand the business problem, you can't line up the rest of the company behind why are you going to implement what you want to implement, right? Whether it's a CapEx or an OpEx play, you still have to solve a business problem. So that, to me, has been number one that tends to trip people up. Number two is the software stack, right? Because we can build the coolest hardware on the planet, but if it doesn't fit into the developer tools that you or your company already have, no one wants to use it. I mean, let's be real. If it takes me, if I'm going to stop and get coffee on my way to work, it better be on my path to work. I'm not going to go 100 miles out of the way because this other thing is better, but I still have to get to work on time, right? Like, that same idea is, how do you get the software into the development path of where people are already existing? And I think, again, there's good motion there. There's a lot of good movement. The tooling is getting a lot better, but those two have been the biggest hiccups from what I've seen.
And I fully agree with both of these topics. And I would like to add one thing. It's the quality of the data that actually counts, right? So the sensors have to be predictable, and the model has to be well defined. So either you're building a digital twin, right, of the failure that you want to detect, and corresponding to the business that you want to get to, or if the model isn't accurate and the sensor data isn't reliable, then you're stuck in a conundrum. And yes, so hopefully we.
That's awesome. I think that I can add my signature, under each one of the answer that you guys provided. I just want to double click on one thing that I'm really passionate about, which is something that Alexis you said, which is about the lack of business model. I think that for the people here in the room that are kind of old enough to have been here at the very beginning of the IT wave, it will resonate the difference between a plausible use case and a compelling one. And I think that AI, especially at the edge, is kind of suffering from the same problem. But I think that data, really access to the right type of technology, both hardware and software side, it's probably represent most of the tooling and the right tools represent some of the biggest barriers. And of course, from an Arduino perspective, right, we are all into open ecosystems, and especially we are in a weird position of being a company that manufactures mostly hardware, but we are famous for our own software. But we really believe in an ecosystem, so we really bring together. And so my question for you guys is, how do you feel that the ecosystem motion can make a difference into really changing the game and fully democratize AI? Of course, sensors, software, and hardware, right, coming together. How do you see that happening, and what are the early trends that you're seeing about companies and ecosystems getting together to really helping making Edge AI deliver on the huge promise that is on paper?
Maybe I can start. The ecosystem is fundamental for the discovery, right? So maybe some people know it, but most people don't know that Bosch Sensortec is the market leader in MEMS sensors. And if it's such a well-kept secret in the industry, so if you don't know where to start, then you rely on integrators that maybe are over promising or under delivering some kind of solution. So the ecosystem is important, first of all, for the discovery. The second is the ability to rely on some fundamental, whether it's open source or reference designs that are on a fee basis, on some ideas where you can put your building blocks together to form the business case that was talked about before.
Go ahead.
Okay, so one thing that I would love, so sort of in AI, the non-edge part, we sort of standardized on 3 different frameworks: PyTorch, TensorFlow, JAX. That's basically the 3 flavors that there are. Everyone builds all the stuff in that. We've had some earlier frameworks that have all sort of died off, and this works well. It means that I can pick a random AI developer off the street, and it will probably speak the stack that I'm also using internally. And for some reason, for Edge AI, we're throwing it all out of the window. Every single silicon vendor wants to build their own special stack and their own special compiler, and probably know all about this. Even no, I mean, I'm put my hand to my own bosom. Is that a saying in English? Probably not. Well, it's in the Netherlands, and we're in Amsterdam.
I think we get it.
You get that? So, I think one of the things I would love to do, at least on a microcontroller side, when we started TensorFlow Lite for microcontrollers in 2019, where we say, hey, we want to have a common stack where people are going to build, and thus the knowledge that they have on one silicon vendor now translates into the other silicon vendor, really great. Why can't we do that for something like larger devices too? Can we all standardize on Light RT with delegates to our accelerators? I think it would be really great for accelerator. Or Onyx runtime with delegates. Like, what can we do to make the stuff transferable? And I know the silicon vendors don't want to hear that story, including Qualcomm, because it means that I can write something here and then run it somewhere else. But I think that would really, 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 really help. And I see people in our DevRel group nodding, so I think I'm on the right track.
Well, we wouldn't argue with you.
Okay.
I come from 20 years in this industry where ecosystems are the bread and butter of how you actually really do business, right? And Axelera believes that it's not a zero-sum game, meaning everyone, when you actually work together, you get more out of it than if you try and do it on your own. So I think back to your question around like what does ecosystems mean in this scenario, there are so many things that I do not have the bandwidth, the expertise, or the capacity to go do on my own. So partnering with Arduino or partnering with other companies, partnering with Bosch to go do it together means that the end users get a better solution, and candidly, I get to market faster. So that's the way that we kind of look at it: is how do you make that 1 + 1 = 3 type of scenario with working with the ecosystem in a way that it is more open, people can build off of you, and you can then go, tackle new and more interesting problems together.
Absolutely. They say that you need an ecosystem if you want to truly scale, right? That's the only way. So I think that we have time for one last question, right? And so last time that I was here at the Things Conference was 6 years ago, 2019. And boy, the show is very, very different, but the IoT space is even more different, right? I think that you were all in the space, and you kind of you can see how 6 years ago there was not a chance in the world that we could have predicted that in 2025 we would be here with this right IoT landscape right beneath us. So I'm asking you, each one of you, to take out a virtual crystal ball and predict the future. Right? So 6 years from now, hopefully without a COVID and a pandemic in between, we'll get here, gather together, do another panel, right? Do a kind of a post-mortem of the last 6 years of Edge AI. What do you think that is going to be the most relevant thing, the most important thing that will have happened at that point? I will start from Alexis.
My prediction would be that it will actually be a more consolidated market. I think kind of to your point, we are so fragmented that it's difficult for companies to make their choices, right? So in my space with making accelerators, we make the fastest, most performant processor, but there's other people that do similar, right? So now what's happening is companies are having to choose. And then I think what will happen over the next few years is you start to see consolidation across those companies to where you're down to the old AMD Intel days, right? Where you kind of had two, but it was still a fair but more consolidated solution set for then people to go build off of. Because to your point, we can't keep the fragmentation. The economics behind it don't make sense. So I think you'll see the same size, you'll see bigger use cases, you'll see more interesting things, but I think you'll see it with a smaller number of vendors being able to go do it independently.
Interesting. So, thanks. One. So I think in 6 years we'll stop talking about Edge AI. In the same way that we stopped talking about IoT. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I started in the IoT space, we were doing IoT because we wanted to do IoT. We did IoT platforms and IoT device and IoT this. Now, it's just a given. You buy a device, you buy a machine, it is connected. I don't give a shit. I don't call it IoT anymore. It's just a fundamental part of that device. Edge AI, we're 10 years earlier in that trend, right? And we're still doing Edge AI trajectories and we're trying to build some of that in. 10 years from now, it'll just be a given. Every device will have some AI in it. We don't even need to call it out anymore. And there will be something new and exciting that we can go talk about here at the Things Conference.
I have probably an even bigger dream, right? I would hope, but 5 to 10 years from now, the end customers are actually going back to expect the kind of performance from the ecosystem, right? Whether it's from the processor, from the sensor, from the underlying models, that they will expect. Just like today, we expect a certain resolution on the camera in a smartphone, or a kind of battery life in a smartwatch. We will have similar expectations in terms of connectivity, in terms of performance, and in terms of quality of the device, quality of the service. Right, that will make my product special and tailored to me.
I love your answers, guys, because if we put them together, you actually build what I believe is going to be my prediction for the next 5 years, which is some sort of consolidation, but not necessarily on the vendor side, more on the customer side. Because today we have double fragmentation, both on the customer and on the use cases. right? Like it happened in IoT, because today is not IoT anymore; it's just a given. There is going to be a consolidation of the use cases, and you will have the long tail of all the small customers that will just adopt an out-of-the-box solution or a very limited set of out-of-the-box solutions, and will just benefit from the business outcomes. So I will ask you guys to put in the calendar, right? A placeholder for 6 years from now. We're gonna revisit this and see if we nailed it or not. But for now, I would say thank you so much. It was really valuable insights. Looking forward to partner with all of you to help make Edge AI really available for everybody out there. And I'm looking forward for the joint solution that we'll be able to deliver to be kind of available to the customer out there. So thank you so much, everybody.